have. So we're going to kind of talk about budgets and financial literacy and kind of our money goals. But just think about it for yourself in your head. Think about a goal you have that's related to money. Then think about what amount that money goal is. So it might be to pay your rent, to spend $100 on Christmas presents, a new phone, to retire when you're 65, to pay off debt or a Disney vacation. Could be anything any goal that you have. Just think about how much money it would take to accomplish that goal. So when you think about having that money goal for yourself, having a budget is a way that you're able to make your money work for you. So anytime when you're thinking about a goal, there's going to be action steps. There's going to be a process to getting to that goal. It doesn't just snap your fingers and that happens. So you have to have little steps that you can make to get to that goal, whether it's a small goal or a recurring goal like paying your rent every month, or whether it's a big goal like retiring at 65. You have to be able to have steps to take along the path that's going to get you there. And so when we think about budgets, it's really, again, it's not a dirty word. A lot of people don't like budgets. They don't like the word budget. They don't want to think about it. But it's really just about how are we making our money that's coming in work for us and work for our goals. So a lot of times when you think about lottery winners, they oftentimes go broke very soon after winning the lottery. And why is that? Because they just spend it. They don't think about what's their goal that they have for that money and spend it kind of accordingly or invest it. You think about NFL players, there's some research out there about how many of them declare bankruptcy when they retire, because here they've had all this money coming in and they live this extravagant lifestyle. Then they might retire and they don't have that income, but they keep the lifestyle. Okay, so then they go broke, they declare bankruptcy. Again, because they're not making sure that their money is working for them. So that's what a budget is about. No matter how much you have, you always need to be working on a budget. And knowing, a part of that budget is knowing how much is coming in and then how much is going out. So how much money are you making and where are you spending it? And then adjusting those things so that you're able to meet your goals. So a couple budget resources, and I'll share this PowerPoint with you guys if you want. There's a lot of these up on our website as well. And then I have a few things here in person that I can get to the specialist if those of you at the other centers want as well. So there is, when we're thinking about budgeting, we have to be able to document how much is coming in. So you're writing things down, being able to have things down concretely on paper. So you think about how much cash you might have coming in, whether that's gifts or birthday presents or Christmas presents. Think about any side jobs you have. Maybe you babysit for somebody, and they give you $10 or something. So you're writing down and documenting everything that's coming in. Maybe you have regular employment, you're gonna have a pay stub. But if you have benefits, you're gonna wanna write that down as well. And then you're also thinking about what's going out when you're doing a budget. So you want to keep track of everything that's you're spending. Because again, if you're going to be making your money work for you, you want to know how much is going out, where it's going out to, so that you can adjust, again, according to your goals. So you might want to try keeping receipts. Anytime you're paying bills online, you're going to document that, have that written down somewhere. So there's lots of different ways that you can track those things. So there's a few apps out there. One that I've tried before and liked was Every Dollar by Dave Ramsey. He's kind of a financial guru person. And the app you can have a free version, and of course you can upgrade to the paid version. I always just use the free one. There's also like paper ones you can use. So I'll hand these around. You can take one if you want. There's also kind of these booklets that are out there. We used to have a budget one specifically, and I didn't have one at our office, so I had to order more, but they won't be here yet. But these are some about debt, and then there's one on credit as well. And then if you guys want the budget ones, once they come in, I can get them to the specialist. So there's different ways that you can write things down to be able to keep track of them, what's going in and what's coming out. So looking back at that one-page paper that I kind of handed out, and you can see up here on the screen a little bit, you can kind of use this in a couple different ways when you're budgeting. So one way to kind of start thinking about budgeting is looking at this one-page paper and estimating what you're going to need moving forward. So you can kind of think about, well, what's kind of the average? How much do I usually get? How much do I usually spend? So you could kind of fill this out without having any documentation. Most of us probably know about how much we're having for income, and then like a rent or something is the same every month, so some of those things you may not have to have that documentation piece to be able to write it down to kind of estimate moving forward, how much do I need? Then this piece of paper, so it can be used in that way to kind of estimate and kind of start wrapping your head around that idea of budgeting and where money most likely should go. And then it could also be used as an actual document for where money is going moving forward. So again, that's collecting those documentation pieces and writing things down where you're actually spending things. So that's where it kind of gets into the concrete moving forward, where are things actually going and being spent at. And so some of these categories, you might have a 0 in them, and there might also be other categories that you're adding to. So this isn't what we call an exhaustive list. It would be something that can change and fluctuate. Again, you could white things out, add things to the list. And again, wherever you're spending money, you're going to want to track that as well. So when we think then about our budget, we have the amount coming in, we have the amount going out. And most of the time there's an unbalance somewhere. Usually it's that we need more money coming in. We need to increase our income. So that's again where we're looking at, okay, so it's unbalanced. What are we going to do? So we have a couple options. Maybe it's getting a better job or a side job or a different job. Maybe it is looking at some of the side job things. Maybe it's asking for money from family or friends, connections. Maybe it's also looking at other benefits that might be out there. So I wrote down just a couple lists of different possibilities here. If people are over 65 or are disabled, over 18 and disabled, they can apply for rent rebate, which is $1,000. You can apply for energy assistance for LIHEAP. You could go to multiple food pantries to reduce your food bill. Make sure you're participating in any other government benefit programs such as WIC, the Supplemental Nutritional Program for Women, Infants, and Children, SNAP, food assistance. HUD, it could be possibly looking at low-income housing or Section 8 housing. TANF, temporary assistance for needy families, or any other possible benefit programs that are out there that you might qualify for. And that's all, anything else that you can kind of qualify for can raise, again, that income. So it may not be going directly cash to you, but it's helping relieve some of those things of money going out. So in the same way, it's kind of as income. So then we can also look at possibly decreasing spending. So if things are unbalanced in our budget, then we need to prioritize some of our spending. So if maybe we can't increase our income right now or get a second job or change jobs, well then currently what can we do to decrease our spending? How can we prioritize the things that we need over our wants possibly, or what are the top needs? So again, we can utilize resources, making sure that keeping our food costs down and with those other programs, and then other possibilities like clothing assistance. I just listed a few things here in Des Moines County for clothing. Kids grow fast and sometimes clothes can be expensive. So this is just one way that you could possibly reduce some of your spending going out. And it's really looking at when you write those things down, where money has gone out in the past and seeing, okay, so if I spend money in this area, maybe I could cut out a little bit in that area. Just because it is also around the holidays, I do also like this quote, and this is the idea that goes with it. So it says, no holiday should manipulate you to the point where you're going into debt just to show that you love somebody. So it's just a good reminder around the holidays that we don't have to buy things for people. We don't have to go into debt or put things on layaway to show people love. There's lots of other ways that we can do that, and we can be generous with our time, with talents, even giving things you may already have or regifting. I keep a regifting box at my house and I put things in it all throughout the year. Like, yeah, I don't like this, but and it goes out at Christmas time. But that's just, one way. And so it's just important to remember that around the holidays. So when we're evaluating our budget, we think about how our spending is, and what are our needs versus our wants, and prioritizing those wants. And a lot of times when we get in the idea of a budget, we're like, we can't spend a single thing. Well, sometimes it can be okay to spend a little bit, but you need to be able to set a limit on that too. So just a couple examples from my family. My little sister, Jessica, she loves Starbucks tumblers. Those are also pretty expensive, like $25 or so. So maybe having one is okay. But I'll tell my sister, she has about 10. So nobody needs 10 Starbucks tumblers, okay? Especially thinking about buying those new, that's $250 sitting on your shelf. So then we're thinking about prioritizing. Okay, do you need that $250 to pay your rent? Or do you need it in Starbucks tumblers? You probably need it to pay your rent, because my little sister didn't pay rent. But anyway, so another example. So my husband loves muffins at Panera. They are really good muffins. But if he goes to Panera every workday, he works 5 days a week, that would be $67 a month and $804 a year. So muffins are good, but muffins are not $804 good.
Not when you can make them at home.
Exactly. Yes. So again, setting a limit on things, like maybe you can have one a week or one a month. And not having to tell yourself, I can never have this because I'm on a super strict budget. But you have to, again, prioritize what's important. Where do you want your money to be spent on? Do you want to spend $804 on muffins every year? No. So it's kind of thinking through those things to find out where our money is going, and again, to what we want it to go to. A couple of things to avoid as we think about planning and thinking about budgeting and money and maybe being short on money. Payday loans are a trap. In Iowa, it is actually legal for them to charge 420% interest. So a lot of times, people who have a job, you get, you're a little bit short on something, you need a little bit of help, so you go to a payday loan place, and then what usually happens is you can't pay it off that payday. And so they offer you another loan, and it just continues to cycle, and you end up paying a whole lot more for things when you use a payday loan. So absolutely avoid those at every cost. A lot of people use credit cards when they're unable to pay things. So when you're thinking about credit cards, they do have about 25 to 40% interest, depending on what kind of card you're eligible for. However, 60% of Americans have had that balance for over a year that they have on their credit cards. So while you might think, well, this is kind of my best option for now, okay, but think about how much more you're going to be spending in the long run if you're not able to pay that off that month. So $1,000 at 35% interest is $350 on the interest that first year. Okay, so for something you borrowed $1,000 for, you're going to be paying $1,300 for. The second year, if you aren't able to pay that off, you're going to be charged an additional $472 that next year. So again, if you maybe say I can't pay my rent and get a couple things this month, so you put it on your credit card, in 2 years, you'll have paid double for just that 1 month of rent. And so thinking about that too, that sometimes it's, if it happens once, is it going to happen again as well? So that's just 1 month. And if you did this twice, again, you're going to be paying like 4 times as much. So then also, so avoiding payday loans, avoiding credit cards, avoiding rent-a-centers. A lot of times rent-a-centers might have, say it's a new stove and it's on sale, $1,500, they say, with 6 months, nope, you don't have to pay any interest, okay? So we think, all right, well, I can get that stove now and I'll pay it off within 6 months, not have to pay any interest. Well, the thing is that same stove, if you would go to Menards and have cash, might only be $1,000. So it's the same stove, but you're being sold it at a higher price. And that's how the rent-a-centers can offer 6 months with no interest. And so then again, if you don't pay it off in 6 months, of course, then they start charging you interest. But even up front, you're paying more for the same thing than if you had cash and were able to go like to Menards or Lowe's to get it. And rent-a-centers, and the interest rate that they charge is usually somewhere between 40 to 450%. Again, you have to read those fine print things to see what they're going to be charging you. Also avoiding gambling. So sometimes we have those money goals, we have those dreams, we want to snap our fingers, we want to think, all right, it's going to happen. We think the lottery or gambling is the way to get it. So a lot of times gambling really preys on people who are low income, and they kind of prey on that idea, that mindset of we just want to make it rich right now without any effort or work. And it's usually not how it works. Gambling is set up, it's rigged so that the gambling companies will always win. But if it is something that you do, where I think there's 74% of Iowans do participate in some kind of gambling, and about 13% of Iowans it negatively affects their life. So they have a gambling problem. There is, through ads, free gambling counseling, if that's something that you're interested in. But if it is something that you participate in, again, make sure you're setting a limit. So for some people, they might go out to dinner and spend $20. For other people, they might go to the casino and spend $20. As long as you have a limit and you're making sure you're not going over that, again, it's not something that is going to ruin your life, hopefully. But again, setting that limit, making your money work for you, and not gambling. Again, it works with your brain to tempt you to always want to spend more. To, you know, if you make a small win, you're going to want to play more. So again, it's working on your brain. But if you do it, just make sure that you're setting that limit on it. So if we're avoiding all of these different things like payday loans, what do you do if you're short with money? Well, probably for most people, the best is friends and family. But if you're borrowing from friends and family, be careful and make sure you're having a full conversation with them. Talk to them about, you know, when do they expect to have the money back? How are they charging you any interest? What are their expectations? And be very clear. Okay, if you were borrowing from a bank, you would have to sign a contract. So borrowing from friends and family, if you can get something in writing, that's always best too. It just helps keep everything clear and kind of above board when you're dealing with friends and family. When you think about loans, we think about personal loans with a bank or credit union. If you have a checking account, try and go and talk with a banker at that bank or the credit union. If you don't have a checking account or a savings account, you can still go and approach a bank and they'll run their credit report and see what they might be able to do to help you. These are really the lowest interest rate you're going to get would be with a personal loan, probably at a local bank or a local credit union is going to be your best bet. And those interest rates are usually around 3 to 10%. And it depends on your credit score and kind of what your life situation is like, how much the bank would be willing to loan you. But if you need money, that's a possible option too. And then it's important also to kind of face the facts. Where are you at to address a situation? So if you're behind on rent by 1 month, okay, so are things going to be able to change in the next month? And would your landlord possibly give you a grace period if you moved out this month without the eviction process? Okay, so kind of facing the fact, where are we at today? Are things going to possibly get worse in the next month? Or what can we do now to adjust so things don't get worse? And really with your budget, again, looking at it, what's coming in, what's going out, how can things change so that our goals can align? So the best case scenario with a budget is that your income is above what is going out. And that comes in then with saving for emergencies. Emergencies aren't necessarily emergencies usually, they're just things we weren't prepared for, because all of us have financial things that are going to come up in our life. None of us are going to have everything planned out. There's going to be those unexpected things. So set up a goal for if you have more income, set up that goal and where do you want your money to go? If you have a partner, it's very important that you get their buy-in, that they are on track to do this with you too, because if they are out there spending everything, then you aren't going to have any money to put towards your goal. So make sure you have that conversation with your partner as well. Then think too about what's some other possible income sources that come in throughout the year. So most of us get a tax refund. So tax time is kind of coming up in a couple months. So thinking about, okay, what are we going to do with that tax refund? If you can, it's great to be able to save for those unexpected things, for those emergencies. Dave Ramsey suggests saving 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. But even if you can just save 1 month worth of expenses, that's a really, really good start. Then also think about what are your needs and what are your wants. Some people I've heard have paid their landlord ahead. So they get their tax refund in, they pay for 6 months of rent with their landlord. Landlords are generally happy to do that. Sometimes when you pay for your car insurance, you can get a better deal on it if you pay it 6 months at a time. So that's another possibility. Just remember that in 6 months, you're going to have to pay it again or change it to monthly. You maybe use it to pay off debt to kind of get you in the free and clear. You could also pay ahead on your utilities. So like if you have a Alliant, you can send them an extra $1,000 and they can hold on to that credit and then pull from that moving forward as well. Some people, don't trust themselves when they get that big chunk of money, like I'll just spend it if I get it. So doing things like this helps you, and by kind of putting it somewhere else. So someone like putting it on a credit on your utilities, or putting with that credit with your landlord. Essentially, they're holding on to it and taking out expected expenses that you're going to have. Just remember, you're going to want to track that as well, because in 6 months or a couple months, you're going to have to start, those things, paying those things again.
Get receipts.
Yes, always get receipts, especially when talking about landlords.
Mhm.
Yep. Any questions? No?
Something up there in the chat.
Oh, I do. Yeah.